Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar by Seethings CEO and Wirepas about when cellular meets non-cellular, the 5G integration for Wirepas networks. We have a couple of things to go through first. So one is that we will be recording this webinar, and you will get a recording of this webinar to your emails. All registered people will. And also, we would like you to send your questions through the application. So on the right below corner, you can see this tab for questions. So add your questions there. And at the end of the presentation, we will have a Q&A session where we go through these. But we will wait a minute or two to make sure that we get people joining online. So just give us a couple of minutes so we make sure that everyone interested can join. Okay, I think we can now start. So I'll let Ola, Alexander, and Shreyas you to introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Mimmi, and happy to join this webinar this afternoon. Great to see a great number of people attending this webinar. So my name is Ola Välipakka, coming from Wirepas. Been at Wirepas for a couple of years and heading the sales for Northern and Eastern Europe, including the UK, Ireland, and Benelux. So I'm really looking forward to having this webinar together with our partners, Seethings.
So thank you, Ola. Thank you, Wirepas, for having us with you on this webinar. It's a great honor for us to show also what we are doing. My name is Alex Bogarski. Within Seethings, responsible for marketing and sales, and quite some background in different IoT functions, which we're leveraging here as well. And with me, I have our CTO.
Hi. Thank you so much for the opportunity as well with Wirepas. I'm Shreyas, the CTO at Seethings, responsible for our entire technology stack and innovative development. Nice to be here.
So before I give the floor to Seethings, so I will give a few words about Wirepas for those who are not that familiar with what Wirepas is. So let's get started. So very briefly about Wirepas. So what we are offering today is not an outcome of a couple of years of development, but actually a 21 years of research and development. So first 10 years as an academic research here at the Technical University in Tampere, Finland, and then further 11 years as a commercial R&D development. And what really makes us unique is that the research for IoT and sensor network, it started actually even before the Bluetooth existed. So in the early 2000s, the professors at that time, they were thinking that, okay, we need to find an intelligent way of connecting devices in a low power manner. And that was really the motivation for the research. So we were born 2010 as a spin-off from that research. And we have grown quite nicely after 2010. Biggest change to our organization was in 2014. So when we totally switched our business model to purely to be software licensing. So we do not provide any hardware or devices or solution, but all of those are being done by our ecosystem members, including Seethings, who we are having the webinar today. We are a very strong believer on ecosystem, and as of today, we have over 200 partners on our ecosystem. We are strongly headquartered in Tampere, Finland, but then we have also presence in Europe and US and Asia Pacific and India. So what are we actually offering, we as a Wirepas? So we can say that we offer a wireless mesh connectivity that never fails. So what does it actually mean in practice when we say that connectivity that never fails? So first of all, our network and protocol is completely autonomous. All the intelligence is built into these simple devices, for example, you see here on my hand. So there is no network management needed by the gateway. All the intelligence is embedded to the devices. And since every single device is an access point to another device in the network, so you do not need any SIM cards, middlemen, or subscriptions to run our network. Only thing what you need is just a connection to the other device in the network. Each device you have in the network has always multiple routes to choose from and send the data eventually to the gateway. So if any of your surrounding conditions change in your warehouse or factory facilities, the device will find an alternative route and successfully transmit the data eventually to the gateway. With our software, with our wireless software, you have basically close to zero infrastructure. You don't need any cabling or wiring because you can have the fully infrastructure battery operated if required. And with our wireless software, you can have very high device to the gateway ratio. So depending on the use case, you can have hundreds of devices per one gateway, or even up to 1,000 devices, like we have in one of our use cases for the emergency lighting. What do we mean by totally scalable? Just maybe to give you some numbers of the scalability. So typically what we see is that for home scale type of application, for where you have a limited number of devices, you can use some alternative wireless technologies and they work okay. But when we talk about thousands of devices or tens of thousands of devices, that's typically the place where we see our customers having problems. So to give you some numbers, so our biggest installation has 920,000 devices in a single network without any sub-networks. So close to our 1 million devices on a single network. And on the other hand, if you talk about density, especially in the logistics and asset tracking, you can have thousands of devices in a very small area. So what we have tested is that we have 1,500 radios inside a 1 cubic meter without any data collision for the data traffic. And our wireless technology has been really designed towards very low power consumption. So you can imagine that you can have access points with years of battery life, easily 5 years of battery life. No need to cabling or electrician to add your devices. And what we are offering, and also what Seethings is showing, that you have the full ownership of the data. Everything can be run on premise if required. But it's also important to understand it's not only the stack what we as a Wirepas offer, for example, to partners like Seethings. So what we actually offer is a full connectivity suite, which really enables the fastest time to the market to our partner. So what does it mean, that full connectivity suite? What does it actually includes? So I'm going to just list some highlights what is included in the connectivity suite. Well, first of all, we have put a great emphasis on our open developer portal. So anybody as of today can go and register and create an account to developer.wirepas.com and get a massive information of our technology and the benefits. We are also providing our SDK as an open source. And what also makes our SDK very unique is it's an hardware agnostic. So we are working with silicon vendors like Silicon Labs and Nordic Semiconductor, but whether you're working with the Nordic or Silicon Labs, you have only one SDK. So should your development need to change your hardware from one vendor to another, your impact on the software development will be basically non-existent. We also want to speed up the development by offering you a reference gateway implementation, which is available in the GitHub as well. For sure, a gateway is not our core business, but having a reference implementation for the gateway, we have seen great results from our customer base. One thing which we are also offering, which is very unique, looking at the different wireless technologies, is that we are offering a fully powered monitoring and diagnostic tool, so you can really see how your network performance, what are the radio links, and so forth. Network provisioning is fully embedded to the devices. So when you power on the device and you have the right network credentials, the devices will connect to the network automatically. You don't need to have any manual provisioning for specific gateways. Our devices will always find the best route to the gateway. And last but not least, we are also offering a positioning engine. So one thing what also makes Wirepas connectivity very unique is that every single device can actually be a tag or an anchor, and it has a built-in positioning embedded. So you can build your asset tracking without adding any additional infrastructure to your network. And most importantly, when you're looking to build a future-proof solution, you need to be able to make sure that you are able to update your devices remotely. So that is also built into our technology. So whether you're updating one device or 10,000 devices, everything will be run smoothly with our over-the-air programming. Our business model as a Wirepas is super simple. So we are licensing our software. So basically, there's a one-time royalty fee for device manufacturers when they manufacture a device with the Wirepas embedded, and then there's a monthly license fee. Simple as that. So looking at what are the actual use cases that we cover. So our industrial ecosystem around Wirepas is growing really fast. As of today, we have over 200 partners, and we are working with great partners like Seethings. And what we have identified as of today is over 100 different use cases that can be run with Wirepas. And of course, with Seethings and their 5G suite, you can actually cover plenty of these use cases, which we have identified, whether it's an asset tracking, material flow, condition monitoring, just to name a few. So this was my very brief introduction on what is Wirepas, and I'm really looking forward to hear from Seethings how they utilize our technology. But I don't have anything further, but I'm just making you a challenge. Let's make a massive start already now. Thank you. And I will now hand off the talk to Alex from Seethings.
Thank you very much, Ola. So Seethings, who we are. So let me quickly introduce Seethings while my colleague is fixing the issue with the screen sharing. We're an IoT company focusing or putting our focuses mainly around industrial IoT. So we believe that the majority of our customers have all the data available to improve their operations. And we are also a firm believer of this ecosystem play. So this is also why we're happy to be part of this Wirepas ecosystem, as it makes also our life easier to enhance operations of our customers. So based on our activities, we have started utilizing Wirepas in industrial environment. Shreyas, can you flip the slide? And we right away ran into a couple of problems we need to address here. It's not about the Wirepas tag. This worked out of the box right away, immediately. But in an industrial environment, we were scratching our heads on what type of gateway we shall use. Is it a Raspberry Pi? Is this appropriate enough for industrial use? I mean, everyone who has used a Raspberry Pi knows how fragile this system is. An SD card can break right away. We have had several issues where our Raspberry Pis broke en route towards to different exhibitions. So this was certainly not the right approach for us. Then, building on this problem was also that we had to choose this connectivity standard. We see tremendous or a myriad of connectivity technologies in enterprises, maybe with the rise of those campus networks in terms of 4G, 5G, we see a lot of LoRa connectivity still. We see Sigfox, Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi 6, and basically you name them. So all of those different technologies, and we still didn't know exactly where we should place our bets. So especially when we talk about applications like controlling robots, where really low latency connectivity is needed and edge processing of the application. Then we were also thinking of, okay, when we are going to deploy hundreds of Wirepas meshes, how are we going to monitor them? How are we making sure that we can provide, that we can stick to our promise that we provide to our customers, that our application will be constantly up and running, and they can still get all the benefits out of that? How we can make sure that we deploy security patches on our devices, especially highly important for Linux-based devices, and or even how we can do debugging whenever it's needed. And then, last but not least, we were also thinking of how do we maintain our a reliable, independent infrastructure for the core services we are running, like Kubernetes, MQTT, and also the entire Wirepas backend systems. So with that, we have cracked our minds, and we have brought up our 5G suite, which is basically consisting of our 5G IoT gateway. It's a multi-purpose device supporting basically all existing connectivity technologies. We provide a rich industrial interface portfolio to basically connect every type of asset to our gateway to gather the data. We have high edge processing power, so really to run the applications at the edge. And we support all major connectivity stacks. So southbound, we support the natively Wirepas integrated because we strongly believe in this plug-and-play functionality to add sensors to fetch the data and provide meaningful insights. And then on top of this hardware platform, we have also thought of how we can run this as smooth as possible. So we have also created a dedicated operating system where we have downstripped basically all the unnecessary Linux functionalities and provide really as much as possible compute power and compute capabilities for our customers. And as an example, with that and our virtualized environment, we can with our out of the box gateways, we can configure the Wirepas stack within 5 minutes, bringing this up and running. I think Shreyas will talk a little bit more about that after that. And yeah, so we have now the device side, we have the operating system, and then we were also thinking, okay, how we can make sure that we have everything under control. We have full visibility of the entire device fleet. And this is then also where our orchestration platform comes into place, which is then really bringing everything together. We can really provide full visibility, full control over the entire device fleet, and deploy applications remotely, regardless of where and how they have been deployed. If it's on customer premise, within customer networks, behind the firewall, and so on. So, and we didn't stop only with the gateway as our hardware, but we have also developed our own mini PCIe card, which provides the Wirepas sync functionality. So basically a plug-and-play card that can be used with the majority of legacy industrial applications to add to the Wirepas functionality as easily as possible. Yeah, and then once we have solved that, we had some problems still when we were deploying our solutions. And I think, Shreyas, I can hand over to you now, and you will tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, what I want to mention is the northbound side of the gateway. You know, so many connectivity technologies are possible: 5G, 4G, LTE-M, narrowband IoT, even legacy technologies like 3G, 2G. We support Bluetooth, Wi-Fi 6, etc., and of course Wirepas and LoRa and so on. And in the middle of all of these technologies, we ran into the simple problem: how do we organize the basics? Like, we are deploying for our customers 100 devices, 500 devices. How do we handle the authentication details for the gateways, the IP addresses, and how do we keep them all up to date? We want to live up to our standard for our SLAs for our customers, and how do we make sure to do all of this well? And we needed to come up with a solution to unify all of this.
So Shreyas, this all sounds a little bit complex and overwhelming. Tell us a little bit more. How does what does Orchestra actually bring to the entire discussion? What can we bring to the Wirepas ecosystem? How we can support other companies as well in realizing their IoT applications?
Well, in a nutshell, Orchestra is designed to be a single pane of glass management platform. And we want to give you control over the entire life cycle of all of your IoT solutions, including Wirepas, of course. It takes the interface concept to another level, and we try to bring even thousands of distributed devices on any network under the control of one umbrella. I can give you an example. We have so many application developers today. They use Microsoft Azure, they use AWS, Google Cloud Platform, whatever. It's very easy for anybody to go there, create an account, and make whatever you want. Click a couple buttons, you will have a virtual machine, you will have a database, you will have a Kubernetes cluster. And these people, they don't know, because we have managed to abstract away all the complexity that's happening in the data center and all the software stacks that are making this possible. I've been in the cloud computing area for over a decade now, and I remember the time when if I wanted to buy a virtual machine, I had to wait a day or two because they just didn't have the possibility of just making one out of thin air. And yeah, it's really easy to work on the cloud now, and IoT should be no different, in my opinion. Developers should feel just as comfortable interacting with a random sensor on a street lamp somewhere as they do with interacting with servers and data center, because really those devices are simpler. The virtual machines and the servers and the Kubernetes clusters and the load balancers you interact with on a daily basis, they're much more complex devices, but we have managed to abstract them away to a position where we think of them as simple. And IoT should be the same. And yeah, we evolved the feature set of Orchestra over time, and we're really close to Orchestra becoming one of the most comprehensive device orchestration and IoT platforms on the planet. Recently, we shifted our mindset to thinking about Orchestra as a hypervisor, calling it a hypervisor, because it's slowly becoming an automated infrastructure management platform, kind of like a OpenStack for IoT, but more focused on applications and the application side. But the real game changer, as you can see in the image, it's a very simple image trying to show you the concept that the real game changer and the value is in the ease of use of the platform. And users and integrators should be allowed to scale and deploy new applications without worrying about small details. And yeah, Orchestra is also able to do all of this for Wirepas, for the Wirepas stack in the cloud, for the Wirepas positioning engine, and the Wirepas gateway services that are running on the edge device. So one of these functionalities is the device twin. This is kind of a marketing term. It's an industry term for an in-cloud representation of the state of a device, some physical device somewhere. And we on Orchestra provide the arbitrary, completely customizable functionality to log any information from our device. We have these hypervisory features of running updates, especially if you're on Linux, setting up things like networking, firewalls, and so on without you need to worry about it. It's all automatic. I will show that to you in a sec. The main value, of course, is monitoring. You really do need help when you're trying to monitor and manage tens of thousands of devices under your control. And as a developer, this gives you really plenty of value. Even me personally, I love using it because you no longer have to worry about juggling 1,000 cryptographic authentication keys, and don't have to worry about whether you accidentally leaked them the other day or not. And yeah, you'll see that in a minute. So here I have a short video of the platform itself and how it works. And you can see that this is a 5G IoT Gateways dashboard. And you can see that it provides a lot of real-time information at a glance. You can see the cellular network statistics. You can see the CPU usage, RAM usage, operating temperature. It's very easy to monitor. Everything happens in the background. And of course, it can send you alarms. And as I said earlier, the key feature of Orchestra is also to keep tabs on all the cryptographic keys and authentication keys. And the security is handled by us. So the user can have a safe and seamless experience. It's sort of like a secure proxy where you can SSH, as you can see on the screen, into a device just at the press of a button, regardless of its deep underground somewhere or on a different continent or on your table. It doesn't matter. And of course, Docker and Kubernetes support is built in, as we showed there. And yeah, using it is a nice experience. And on the same line as Azure or AWS, when you have everything at your fingertips, it's a lot easier to get stuff done. And this, in my opinion, is one of the most interesting features of Orchestra, applications networking. We have a lot of gateways. We have gateways installed on AGVs, so these autonomous ground vehicles in the factories that move things around. We have them on cobots. We have them as Wirepas gateways, of course. And we even have a customer who has gateways on top of windmills to provide a 5G backhaul. Some gateways are behind firewalls. Some gateways are inside private 5G campus networks. And it's really difficult to know if you have the gateway, if you just have some standard connectivity, whether we will be able to establish secure connectivity with it. And we needed a way to build a cohesive network out of all these devices. We wanted to support our customers to the most possible extent. And that's why we added SD-WAN-like application networking, virtual networking functionality to Orchestra. This isn't a traditional VPN. It's a sort of distributed one. You can think of it as a mesh with a peer-to-peer communication. And Orchestra's philosophy is to provide the best possible connectivity given the resources that it has. In the context of Wirepas, of course, you can think of Orchestra as a super mesh, like a mesh of meshes. It's able to seamlessly connect many Wirepas meshes together and bring them under one umbrella so you can control them.
Shreyas, can you tell us a little bit what the actual value is we're bringing with this?
Well, it's mostly in security and isolation and having secured virtual networks on an application and use case level. And this really, excuse the ambulance in the background, sorry about that. They give you a secure communication bridge to your device, no matter where you are, no matter where the device is, as I said before, can be continents apart. And very nice feature is Orchestra networks can be used to create hybrid clouds as well. I'll actually show you that in a second. I have another video here of how easy it is to create a virtual network. We really want integrators to be able to have all of these functionalities without needing the expertise of network engineers and without needing the expertise of telcos and so on. So here we are going to create a network, give it a name and an address space. And what we're going to do is connect with a virtual network, a Wirepas gate, 5G gateway, and an Azure VM together. And of course, you can use this for Wirepas. You need to connect the 5G gateway running Wirepas services to the cloud. And this is one of the ways you can do it. You press one button, the network is created, and then you just need to add a couple nodes. You add a node, select your, in this case, 5G gateway, press OK, and all the automated provisioning needed is done. And you are given IP address for the device. You can add another node. So here we add another node for the Azure virtual machine. Press save, and now you have a network of gateway, which is actually in our office in Warsaw, Poland, and the VM, I don't know where it is. I think it's in Germany. And you can see the IP addresses. And now we go back to the shell, take the IP address, and try to ping it. And there's no other configuration necessary other than all the button presses you saw to add the device to the network. Of course, Orchestra provides an API as well, so it can be done over API and integrated into your own existing dashboards or own existing platform. And the very interesting thing I want to tell you is that this was so easy, even though the Azure virtual machine that is pinging over there is actually behind firewall, Azure firewall with no ports open. And if you try to ping that virtual machine on its public IP address, it will not go through. And Orchestra is relieving you of the headache of really thinking about firewalls. Of course, security is not compromised in any way. It's done using a myriad of security techniques, and basically the gateway is reverse connecting through Orchestra as a proxy to make this possible. Yeah.
I mean, this all looks great, and this all looks amazing. So just tell us now, what exactly do we enable with the application networking?
Well, one of the things we enable is the Kubernetes and containerized workloads. So you saw how easy it was to create a virtual network. In the same way, it's just as easy, one click, to create a Kubernetes deployment. So once you have a network, you can have a gateway on a windmill, you can have another gateway underground, one gateway on your desk, and some virtual machines or servers in the cloud, and even some servers on premise if you have your own servers. Connect them all into one network and press one button, and you can create a dedicated, isolated Kubernetes control plane for this. And this Kubernetes cluster you will make is going to behave just like any other cluster, which means that any web developer or application developer who is used to using Kubernetes already knows how to use it. So if you have this, it's really bridging the mysterious gap between the edge and the cloud. And application developers from all over the world can start to use this cluster and start to have hybrid computation of edge devices and servers in the cloud or servers on premise very, very easily. And yeah, Orchestra doesn't need to be deployed on the internet. Orchestra can be deployed in a public internet setting. It can be deployed in a private 5G campus network, for example, or even both, because you can have an Orchestra sister node sitting between them to give you secure access to resources on both sides. Yeah, on top of that, we have a long road ahead, and really, we will make Orchestra the best IoT platform available. And for this, we have many other things planned. For example, recently, a few months ago, we were working with Deutsche Telekom in order to test the 5G network exposure function APIs, NEF APIs. These NEF APIs provide applications the ability to request certain parameters from the network. For example, you can reserve throughput, you can reserve quality of service, and so on and so forth. And we really wanted Orchestra to be able to take full advantage of network slicing capabilities of the 5G network, provide quality of service guarantees without the user needing to worry about it. We also want to support one-click installation and monitoring of MQTT cluster deployments with protocol tracing capabilities. So you will have just one dashboard, do nothing, press one button, you'll have a cluster, point your devices at this cluster, and Orchestra will show you all incoming and outgoing messages and even do some anomaly detection. Yeah, what else? Of course, in the context of Wirepas, we are very close to supporting, as you saw with the one-click virtual networks and one-click Kubernetes, we're very close to supporting one-click Wirepas backend services as well. So if you wanted to deploy a Wirepas backend to connect to a mesh and connect to a gateway, this can be as simple as pressing one button and the Orchestra can spin up for you a dedicated Wirepas backend stack in the cloud or on-premise if that's what you need, and also communicates to the gateways automatically and set up the gateway services there as well. And it can be a seamless experience. As I mentioned at the beginning, we really want this to be, our goal is to make it as easy as possible and IoT and edge computing as easy as possible for the user and really make it available. Do I have anything else to add? I think not. So thank you very much for listening to me. I will hand over back to Mimi.
Yes. So anyone, now we welcome your questions. So you can see the button on the right-hand side with questions. So please feel free to send your questions. We have a couple here. So we can start with one. So this is for all the speakers. What are the most interesting use cases that you're working on right now, and what are the biggest technical challenges in them?
Maybe I can start. I can say, let's say from how to say from volume perspective, like container tracking, like a pallet tracking is something we see a very, let's say, steady increase on the demand. I mean, or in general, the asset tracking. You know, in order to reduce the operation expenses and the capital expenses, people do want to find out that, okay, where is my stuff? And one important thing in this aspect is that, you know, when you are let's say deploying an asset tracking solution, for example, provided supported by Seethings, is that it needs to be a system that you are able, that anybody can basically do the deployment, and you need to be able to do the deployment without disturbing your daily activities. Meaning that, like, if you are running, for example, a factory, so depending on the industry you're involved, then it might be very expensive if you need to halt the production for a certain period of time in order to deploy the system. So, and that being said, then also different kind of, let's say, this is slightly out of this scope, but I mean, when we talk about a smart lighting and really going beyond the lighting for occupancy sensing or asset tracking in the buildings, or different kind of let's say environmental monitoring. So that's what we see from Wirepas side as a growing trend on use cases. Maybe Alex, you can comment on your side.
Yes, sure. I mean, happy to take that as well. I mean, the most interesting project I'm currently looking into is how do we merge basically asset tracking information with control of manufacturing assets, meaning how we merge the asset tracking where the different goods are, the quantities of the goods and the inventories with actual operations. So really giving the cobots employed in the manufacturing line when they can expect how many pieces to be pre-processed processed further, and then giving further to the next cobot for the packaging, and then again we jump again on the inventory. And this is where we see this really where everything comes into place, because it's not about asset tracking only. It's when we talk about plastics manufacturing, as far as we learned, Also, the environmental conditions are rather important, especially as they impact heavily the quality of the final product. So here it's really that we see now merging everything under one umbrella. So this mesh networks to track and trace easily, to provide insights on the inventory level, on the status where the different goods are, but also at the same time controlling then low latency assets, and this everything running on one platform, basically exchanging information in real time. So this is really something very interesting, and we're looking forward to bring this up to life quite soon.
Sounds really great. I think next two questions will be mainly probably for Shreyas. So the first one will be that what do you mean by 5G NEF interoperability? Could you elaborate a bit on that?
I don't know if I have much to add about it. Let's see. So the 5G NEF APIs are for an application. This is something new for 5G, where the application is able to request from the network certain parameters. Like, for example, if you are making a game that requires very low latency, or real-time video streaming application, which requires very low latency, this application that can now request the network to provide this low latency guaranteed, or to provide throughput guaranteed. If your application for a good user experience requires a certain amount of internet speed, you can request this. But we believe that for most application integrators, it's going to be quite difficult to enter the area, because it's difficult to get started there and difficult to bring this to your application. And we want to simplify this so that the users can focus on making their application, and Orchestra can handle the part of handling the 5G related stuff. So you should be able to just ask Orchestra, please give me low latency from this application. And that's it. And Orchestra can do this for not just single devices, but also groups of devices.
Excellent. And the next question for you is, what is the benefit of having a hybrid compute orchestration then?
Hybrid compute orchestration. I mean, the real benefit of edge computing, of course, is the lowered latency. So if, for example, in the industrial setting, let's say we have this use case where we want to analyze video streaming from the factory floor, where the cameras are monitoring all the devices, all the assembly lines, all the robots, and so on, and you want to detect when something goes wrong. This is a really real-time application, and if you want this to work seamlessly and to give you alarms and, for example, be able to prevent somebody cutting their hand, this needs to be really low latency, which means the computation coming from the cameras needs to be really at the edge. We bring this closer to the edge, of course, with our Edge 5G gateway with computing capabilities. But also, if you needed to have even more computational power, do some machine learning, some AI, and you really need, I don't know, even quantum computer access, you need to take it to the cloud. For slower activities, of course, which do not require immediate attention, but need attention in the next 5 minutes. For things like this, if you have this cohesive network of the edge devices and of the devices in the cloud, the virtual machines, servers, whatever, then yes, now you have a hybrid compute solution where you can do the really important, really time-sensitive stuff at the edge on the gateway and do the more compute-intensive, work-intensive tasks a bit later in the cloud. And this can be, with Kubernetes, for example, this can be done automatically. Developers can write the Helm charts and tell the application, okay, you should run this here and that there, and this can be very seamless. I hope that answers the question.
Excellent. The next question we have is, can you speak about the ease of getting a piece of equipment integrated with hardware and software needed to be a part of the Wirepas mesh?
Maybe I can start with the answer, and then you can continue. I think this is a. So I think
I understand what he is meant by equipment. It's very broad.
Yes. So maybe to my best of my understanding. So let's say if you have let's say if I understand the question right, like if you have let's say an existing device, and let's say you want to make the device, and let's call it an intelligent, and that device to be part of the Wirepas mesh network, meaning that specific equipment would be producing some meaningful data through the Wirepas mesh network. So of course there are two ways of doing that. If internally your company is doing development of the actual devices, so of course what is needed from technically to run Wirepas is that, okay, first of all you need to have a compatible hardware, and since Wirepas Massive is running on top of the with the Bluetooth low energy physical layer, so you need to have a compatible radio. But then again, depending, you might have a device and you can add on some additional tags or hardware, so then you can work with our ecosystem partners, for example Seethings, which are able to make your device intelligent and to be connected to the Wirepas mesh network. Of course, this highly depends on the use case. Are we talk about, for example, condition monitoring or asset tracking?
I think I understand the question now, but I think you also answered it. I think they mean to get a new piece of electronics connected to the Wirepas mesh. Yeah. Okay. I hope that answered your question. If not, please ask again, and we will clarify.
I think that's all the questions we have so far. If anyone else has a question, please feel free to add. So we still have some 15 minutes to go. So now you can feel free to ask almost anything. Please keep it maybe Wirepas and Orchestra related.
Maybe I can ask a question from Seethings, so that now that you already have pilot customers where you have deployed your system, and so maybe you could just because let's say one of the key benefits that we see Wirepas bringing as a connectivity is really the ease of installation. So how do you see that when you are actually deploying your solution at the customer premises? So what has been sort of like previously maybe some pain points which have been now let's say covered?
You have something to say, Alex? Please go ahead.
I mean, we're convinced. I mean, we have, as you said, Ola, we have already some reference projects up and running. And I can tell you, whenever we were showing up to the customer, showing, deploying our anchor nodes or the reference points within 2 minutes, they were just blown away. We saw during those trial phases also other solution providers deploying their solutions with drilling machines and cables pulling around and all that stuff. So we were much faster in deploying our solution and taking it into operations than anyone else. And I can tell you, this is also the way how we are promoting our asset tracking solution on the market. We continuously state that this is a non-intrusive deployment where we can even stick the modules on the walls, and we bring the entire system up and running. And additionally, we can do far more than only asset tracking with that. It's also that we can utilize the same technology stack, also to gather sensor data, to get together conditional data from the environment or energy measurements and so on. So really providing the full overview to all operations for our customers. And basically, this is how we are positioning it. So Shreyas, I don't know, do you have to add anything to that?
I don't have anything to add, but yeah, I think the customers were surprised, especially because everything's battery operated. The gateway is set up, takes about 10 minutes, because we already have Docker, the Wirepas service is configured, and there's Orchestra for connectivity, and the Wirepas nodes and trackers are ready to go, and it was just a matter of zip tying them to certain points, around the area, and that's about it. And we're ready to go.
Excellent. I think that was a good description. I can't see any more new questions, but is there anything else that you think that would be worthwhile to talk about the customers to the listeners? Because I think that the customer cases and customer stories and comments from customers are always the most valuable.
I mean, I think that our official customer reference is, I mean, it's well known. It's Valmont in Poland, and it's based on their feedback with the asset tracking application they have now in use, is that they achieve savings of six-digit figures in euros. So I think this is already quite impressive and shows the value and the benefit it brings, especially with this low effort deployments. And we see this really now been taking up. I mean, we are working even currently on a project to deploy such a Wirepas tracking solution on a chicken farm. Not to track the chickens as such, but to monitor if all the processes are being followed as they should. Other cases we're working on is, for instance, also home appliance manufacturing. So what we really see here is this multitude of fields of use where we can interact with our customers, where we can really provide tangible value for their operations.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. Okay, I don't see any more questions, but I think that we've had a really good, let's say, a little over 50 minutes of content. So I think that maybe we can start wrapping up. So I thank all the speakers for your time and for all the content you provided. I know it's always takes a little time to prepare, so I thank you all, and I thank you all our listeners for joining us, because I think it's for you that we create these events, and I wish everyone a great rest of the day.
Thank you, yes, and thank you, Seethings, Shreyas, and Alex for joining our webinar today.
Thank you for having us.
And remember, Wirepas Massive, get started now. Also, IoT should be easy.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.